Joseph Nguyen es autor del bestseller No te creas todo lo que piensas, con más de 500,000 ejemplares vendidos y traducido a más de 40 idiomas. Es un escritor que ayuda a otros a darse cuenta de quiénes son, más allá de lo que piensen, para que vivan una vida de abundancia y libre de sufrimiento psicológico y emocional. En sus tiempos libres, mima a sus tres gatos, aunque es alérgico. Dedica su tiempo a escribir, enseñar, dar charlas y compartirle a las personas sabiduría que los ayude a descubrir su propia divinidad y verse como la respuesta que han buscado toda su vida. Y hoy está en entrevista con nosotros para contarnos un poco de su nuevo libro, Los Límites Liberan, publicado por Aguilar. Joseph, bienvenido a esta entrevista. Buen día.
Welcome, Joseph, to this interview. Good day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Muchas gracias por invitarme. Es un honor estar aquí.
Comienzas el libro diciendo, donde hay límites, hay paz. Cuéntanos qué te motiva a escribir este libro.
You begin your book with a point about where there are boundaries, there is peace. What motivated you to write this book?
The motivation for writing this book came from my own pain. Um, I always like to say that the greatest books are written from the author's greatest pain. And this was very true for when I wrote my book. I lived a life with no boundaries ever. I didn't even know it existed. And so what that looked like was constantly saying yes to everyone and everything and every opportunity, um, constantly trying to earn other people's approval, trying to change other people based on what I wanted them to be, because for some reason I thought my way was the best way. And because of doing that, I was so drained and exhausted. Um, because I was saying yes to everyone, I was saying no to myself. Because I was trying to earn other people's approval, I left myself feeling empty because most people won't give that to you. Um, and I just lived my life on that hamster wheel of just chasing and chasing and chasing. Um, and that eventually led me to burnout, to hit rock bottom, to question everything in my life and why I was doing things. And because I put my purpose in other people rather than what I was doing for the world. It was external versus internal. And anything that I do that comes from the external, let's say I receive something from the external, that can always be taken away. But what I create from within and find within myself, that is something that no one else can take away from me and from you as well. And so, what I was able to finally find within myself after creating boundaries and why they create peace is that peace. I was able to find that joy, to find fulfillment within myself, no matter what was happening in the world. And from that place, that's where the book was written. And I wrote it mainly to be able to explain all of my thoughts and ideas as clearly as possible, but to help deepen my own understanding of it. And hopefully, if it helps one other person, then it would have been worth it.
Bueno, la motivación que tuve para mi libro era mi propio dolor. En realidad, muchos libros surgen del dolor del autor. Yo vivía una vida sin límites. Le decía sí a todo mundo, a todas las cosas, a todas las oportunidades. Siempre estaba buscando la aprobación de los demás e incluso estaba tratando de cambiar a los demás porque pensaba que yo tenía la idea correcta de todo. Y así quedé exhausto, vacío. Decía sí, pero eso era para todos los demás. Y en el camino a eso me decía no a mí mismo. Quería la aprobación de los otros, pero terminaba yo vacío. Y estaba siempre tratando de alcanzar algo, esa aprobación. Y eso me llevó a sentirme ya quemado, como ya exhausto. Eh, y ese es el problema de buscar el propósito de uno en los demás. Es lo externo en vez de lo interno. Si uno crece desde adentro, eso no, eso es algo que nadie te puede quitar. Yo digo que los límites llevan a la paz, llevan al placer, a sentirse enriquecido, y eso puede ser independiente de lo que esté ocurriendo en el mundo. Entonces, en mi libro intenté explicar estas ideas, estos pensamientos, y si logro a cambiar, ayudar a una persona, entonces valió la pena.
En el libro comentas, sin límites, nuestra atención y energía se centrarán continuamente en todo lo que se encuentra fuera de nosotros. Cada vez que decimos sí a algo que no queremos, decimos no a nuestra propia felicidad. ¿Por qué es complicado empezar a poner límites?
You write in your book that without any boundaries, we lose our energy. And when we say yes to others, we are saying no to our own happiness. Why is it difficult to set boundaries?
It's difficult to set boundaries because we don't want to disappoint other people. Because if we went around our lives just disappointing others, not living up to their expectations of us, not upholding the image that they have of us, then we believe that we're not of any worth, that we're not good enough. And we have this belief within ourselves that we have to have other people's approval. We have to have other people like us in order to feel whole inside. And this is not our fault. This is how we were raised, because a lot of times our parents will say, you need to do this, follow these sets of rules, or you're going to be punished, or we're not going to love you as much. And so, and again, that's not their fault because they learned from their parents. And so it's just this vicious cycle from generation to generation that mostly is passing on what is called conditional love rather than unconditional love. Conditional love tells us that I'm only going to love you if you do these things that I say that you should do, or that you're going to uphold this image that I have of you. That's when I'll love you. But unconditional love says, I will love you no matter what you do, no matter who you choose to be, no matter how you feel. And that type of love is how, you know, that's the greatest form of love there is. A love that is truly unattached and free. And it grants other people the freedom to be themselves. And that's when we truly find peace, is when we give ourselves first that unconditional love, that no matter what we do, no matter what we say, no matter how many mistakes we make, that we will still love ourselves and not say all these negative things about ourselves, that we're not enough, we're not lovable, we'll never be successful, right? It starts with us and saying that I will love myself unconditionally no matter what happens because I'm human and I will make mistakes. And when you do that for yourself, you then find the compassion to be able to do that for other people. So that's the turning point and how we can begin changing that narrative that we've been telling ourselves and believing.
Es difícil porque no queremos decepcionar a los demás. Si los decepcionamos, si no transmitimos la imagen que ellos esperan, pensamos que nosotros no valemos, que no somos suficientes. Sentimos que o creemos que es la aprobación de los otros y que los otros, que le caigamos bien a los demás, lo que nos da valor. Y eso no es nuestra culpa pensar eso, porque así nos criaron. Los padres podrían decirle a uno qué debería hacer. Uno pensaba que no lo iban a amar si no hacían lo que los padres querían. Entonces es un ciclo vicioso. Eh, y hay que distinguir entre el amor condicional y el amor incondicional. El amor condicional es cuando el amor llega solo si uno hace cierta cosa o si transmite cierta imagen. Y el amor incondicional es independiente de lo que haga uno. Y eso en realidad, ese amor incondicional, es la más importante, la mayor forma de amor. Es sin vínculos, es libre y es la manera de encontrar paz. Primero hay que amar a uno mismo incondicionalmente, a pesar de todos los errores que uno haya cometido. No hay que tener esos pensamientos negativos siempre acerca de uno mismo. Hay que amarse incondicionalmente y desde ese lugar se puede abrir a amar a los demás de esta manera. Y ese cambio de narrativa es lo que puede ser el primer paso al cambio de vida.
Joseph, comentas que poner límites no es un acto egoísta, es un acto de amor consciente. ¿Cómo poder lograr entender este punto?
Joseph, you say that establishing boundaries is not selfish. It's about love. How can we understand this point better?
Yeah, this is a great question. So boundaries are not a selfish act. They are one of the greatest selfless acts of love you can do for yourself. And this is because, like I was saying before, when we don't set boundaries, all of our energy is drained and siphoned out of us. It goes towards other people that may or may not really benefit from it much. Um, and so we keep saying yes to other people and just saying no to ourselves. That's the fundamental principle behind all of this. And once we start to see that we are not helping ourselves by constantly denying ourselves of what we truly want, of how we want to live, of who we want to be, that's when we can become the greatest and highest version of ourselves. Um, and so by setting boundaries, you are creating space within yourself to be who you want, to do the things that you've always dreamed of, to give in different ways that you may not have been able to give before. And we can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what happens when we don't set boundaries. Our cup is always empty. We always feel drained. We always feel like we don't have enough time. We always feel like we're running around everywhere and not being able to catch up or do the things that we want in life. Only when we set those boundaries, those limits, then we can find the time to give our energy more intentionally to the things that we want to foster and grow in life. And that can mean that starts with ourselves. What is it that you need now, in order to feel more alive, to feel more whole, to feel more like you? And from that place, you then have so much more to give to other people than if you didn't do that. And we're just running around constantly stressed and anxious, trying to make other people happy while sacrificing your own happiness. So that's where we can start and where the transformation begins.
No es algo egoísta. En realidad es algo sin intención egoísta. Es lo opuesto. Es un acto de amor en realidad. Si uno no pone límites, entonces siempre se está vaciando de energía porque toda la energía va hacia los demás. Y de hecho, esas personas tal vez ni aprovechen eso o no se beneficien de eso. Decirle sí siempre a los demás y al mundo externo significa decir no a nosotros mismos. Y uno no está ayudando a uno porque está negando lo que necesita. Y en cuanto uno empiece a ver eso, entonces se puede convertir en una mejor versión de uno mismo. Uno crea espacio y puede entonces dar de nuevas maneras. No se puede vertir agua de un vaso que está vacío. No podemos dar nada en realidad si siempre estamos ansiosos y tratando de llegar, eh, siempre sintiéndonos que estamos dos pasos atrás. Las, los límites que establecemos nos dan energía para poder entonces intencionalmente empezar a tener el amor propio y tener espacio que entonces sin el estrés y sin la ansiedad, entonces realmente podemos empezar a dar a los demás y de ahí empieza el cambio verdadero.
Joseph, en el libro comentas, cuando te piden que hagas algo que rebasa un límite, lo mejor es decir tranquilamente no, sin necesidad de dar más explicaciones. Qué importante es decir un no a tiempo. ¿Qué les dirías a nuestros escuchas para que vayan aprendiendo a decir no?
Joseph, in your book, you explained that when you set boundaries and then someone asks you to do something that's going to cross that boundary, you should just calmly say no without explanations. How can you explain to our listeners how can we do that?
It's a great question, and the answer is very simple. It's not much more than just doing it. But I think the question underlying that one is how can we let go of the fear of doing this, which is more so about the fear of upsetting someone or disappointing someone because we aren't saying yes to whatever they're saying. And when I say that in the book to just say no, what I mean more specifically is you don't need to over-explain yourself and say, oh, it's because of this, and just list all of the excuses and reasons that you can't do it. Because when you do that, you're giving away your power and you're basically trying to get them to feel bad for you when you don't really need to. Um, Everyone has their own life that they have that they want to live, and everyone has their own reasons for doing things. And if you went around explaining the reasons why you did everything, you would spend more time talking than living your life. So that's why it's so important that, most of us over-explain out of guilt from saying no to something. But the people that truly love you and understand you, once you say no and you say no, like, I just don't have time this week, or that's not something that I want to do. Um, the people that love you will honor and respect that. And they will see that, oh, wow, this person is taking care of themselves. They're prioritizing themselves. And this doesn't mean that we have to be mean to other people and say, no, I never want to do that, or that's a waste of my time, right? Like we don't have to go to that extreme. It's just about balancing things and saying, and this also doesn't mean saying yes to or saying no to everything either. It's about rebalancing everything and saying yes to yourself as much as you're saying yes to other people, right? Because we're of course still going to help our family and our friends and things like that. But there are times when our plate is too full, or we're just too tired, or we haven't given ourselves the time to recover. And in those times, it's important to give ourselves that grace and that permission to to give ourselves that space and time and rest that we need. And then, right, just because we say no now doesn't mean that we'll say no forever, right? A lot of times people assume that when we say something, it is permanent. But the truth is, everything is always changing. The only constant is change. And we'll change as humans, and we'll change our minds, or the circumstances will change, how we feel will change. And so that's why it's important to understand that a no now doesn't mean a no forever. And there's other ways that we can still give to others, right? And maybe we just schedule it for another time and we can help them in a different way than they asked. So by saying no to other people, it opens up opportunities to say yes in different ways that we might be of more use to others.
Es una muy buena pregunta esa. Y de alguna manera sí es sencillo. Hay que decir no, simplemente decir no. Pero la razón que eso parece difícil, en realidad hay un tema subyacente ahí, que es el miedo de hacer esto porque puede molestar a otros, les puede decepcionar porque uno no dice sí a lo que le piden. El solo decir no, bueno, lo que quiero decir es que no se debe sobreexplicar, porque si haces eso, estás dando tu poder a otros. Y si estás dando muchas explicaciones y eso, es que quieres que ellos se sientan mal por ti. Eh, y si das todas esas explicaciones y esas razones, es como que pasas más tiempo hablando que viviendo. Y viene del unas- un sentirse culpable y por eso tenemos que justificar. Pero en realidad, si simplemente decimos no y damos tal vez una breve explicación de que necesitamos hacer algo o descansar o algo, en general nuestros seres queridos van a entender y van a respetar esa decisión, van a entender que nos estamos cuidando a nosotros mismos. No significa que uno debe ser mala onda, debe decir, ay, no, eso sería un desperdicio de tiempo. No, no hagan eso. El punto es encontrar el equilibrio. Hay que decir sí a uno mismo, eh, a- tanto como decimos sí a los demás, porque por supuesto, a veces vamos a ayudar a nuestros amigos, a nuestra familia, pero si estamos siempre cansados y no hemos permitido el descanso que necesitamos, entonces no vamos a poder ayudar a los demás. Tenemos que darnos permiso a descansar. Entonces, también es importante entender que un no ahora no significa no para siempre. Siempre hay cambios. Es el único constante en la vida es el cambio. Las circunstancias pueden cambiar, uno puede cambiar de pensamiento, entonces no es algo para siempre. Y entonces luego podremos ofrecer tal vez de otra manera eh, un sí a alguien eh, de, que sí le pueda ayudar, tal vez no como lo habían considerado al inicio, pero de otra manera. Y esto abre las posibilidades, las oportunidades para decir sí.
Joseph, por último, en el libro también comentas que una mente vacía de pensamientos negativos crea un espacio para una vida llena de paz. ¿Cómo lograr ir vaciando nuestra mente de esos pensamientos negativos?
Lastly, Joseph, you write in your book that a mind that is emptied of negative thoughts opens the road to a life full of peace. How do we do that? How do we get rid of those negative thoughts?
The way that we can get rid of those negative thoughts is not really by getting rid of them. The way through is actually to not believe them anymore. It's impossible to stop all negative thoughts or thinking from entering our minds. And thoughts actually have no power over us unless we believe them to be true. That's the key. We can't manage which thoughts come in, but we can always manage or change our beliefs. And that's where the power is, in the belief of something. And that's what brings it to life and creates an emotion out of it. For instance, if there's a thought that comes into our mind that says, we like we are an elephant or something, right? Like we just don't pay attention to it because it's not true. We don't believe it. And so that has no effect. But as soon as something enters in and we believe it and it says something like, you're not good enough, and we believe that, then it turns into an emotion, a negative emotion that then affects us. But if you look at anyone in the world that has a lot of peace, they all have a lot of the same thoughts that we do. They just don't let it affect them. So monks or whatever, very, very spiritual people, right? They, of course, have negative thoughts. It comes in. But what do they do that's different than most people? It's that they disregard them. They allow the thoughts to pass through them, understanding that they are not their thoughts. And that's where the freedom is, right? Because if it's true that we are our thoughts, and the last thought in our minds just left us, and we're still here, what does that make us? That means that we're not our thoughts. We are something beyond our thoughts. We are beyond our thinking and judgments. We are the one who is aware of those things. We're the space in which thoughts come through. And that's where we can sit and rest. And that's where peace comes from, this space, this consciousness, if you want to call it that. So that's how we can actually let go of the negative thoughts in our minds and to not let it affect us anymore, is to manage our beliefs in them, saying that I no longer want to think in this way. I no longer want to believe these things anymore. And I will choose to believe other things because I want to feel peace. I want to feel joy and no longer live in anxiety and suffering.
Bueno, en realidad no es exactamente que nos deshacemos de los pensamientos negativos, porque no podemos deshacernos completamente de pensamientos negativos. La manera de atravesar esto es no creerlos, estos pensamientos, porque sí van a entrar a la mente. Pero solo van a tener poder sobre nosotros si los creemos. Y entonces el poder de uno viene de qué cree y qué no cree. Puede haber un pensamiento que llega a la mente. Somos elefantes. Bueno, no le prestamos atención a eso y no tiene efecto porque sabemos que no es cierto. Pero si llega un pensamiento, yo no soy suficiente. Si lo creemos, entonces eso va a llevar a emociones negativas. Pero piensen en la gente que siente paz. La ventaja que tienen es que no dejan que los pensamientos negativos se empoderen de su mente. Le hacen caso omiso. Piensen en un monje, por ejemplo. No dejan que estos pensamientos les impacte la vida. Ellos no son sus pensamientos y eso es la libertad. Si fuera si fuera cierto que somos nuestros pensamientos, entonces ya que el último pensamiento sale, ¿dónde estamos? Entonces hay que estar conscientes de esto, hay que estar conscientes de lo que está pasando y estar sentados, relajados y en paz. Y entonces podemos vivir sin que nos afecten esos pensamientos negativos. Lo que no podemos controlar si llegan los pensamientos, pero sí podemos controlar nuestras creencias. Y si no queremos creer algo, entonces le quitamos el poder a ese pensamiento negativo. Y así podemos entonces ya llegar a un lugar de paz y donde no tengamos el mismo sufrimiento y podamos dar de nosotros.
Joseph, I really appreciate your time for the interview. I send you a hook.
Thank you so much for having me, Patricia. It was such a wonderful time getting to spend with you. So thank you. And thank you as well, Leticia.
Muchas gracias, fue buen momento para pasar aquí con ustedes.